I started using Cashgolk 6.5 years ago, and I admit when I started using it in a very, very basic way. You've got money in the bank, this is what you're going to get in the future, but if you actually use a portfolio for part of it, this is potentially what you might get back. And that's how it started. But early on, I had a client in his early 50s who, when he was due to get to age 78, his graph turned from green to red. He was going to run out of money. He was just simply going to run out of money. And so I went through that exercise of, okay, well, let's put a proportion actually into a portfolio and see what happens. And his graph turned green right the way up to age 100. And afterwards, I realized that it's not just actually about giving more money in a savings pot. Showing and demonstrating what happened could actually change this chap's life. And then I started to think about that kind of perspective with the planning. And so I think the best thing I can do is, rather than actually go through detail, is to just give you some examples of what it means to the clients. Previous situation I had was doing a progress meeting with an existing client, getting the update on the fact find, redoing the cash flow model, etc. And the woman looked at the chart and said, "Dave, that's a lot of money to leave the kids." And so she said, "Why don't you retire now?" And he went, I said, "Would you like to see?" So with one change, just changing his income to 0, you could see the impact of retiring. And the first thing was that I kept the clients with me because it was so simple to do. I didn't lose them when I was actually updating the model. It was so simple. David then said to me, he said, "You know, we live very modestly. What would happen if we doubled our expenditure?" So, like an idiot, I said, "Okay, so not retire, but double your expenditure." And he said, "No, retire and double our expenditure." So I did that, and again, the model was still more than healthy. So he said to his wife, "Right, that's it, I'm retiring." 3 months later, I had to go back to get some forms signed. And as I drove up to the drive, there in the garage was a gorgeous blue Porsche 911 Carrera. Dave came running out and he said, look what I've done. But he actually said to me, "Don't worry, it's not new, it's just nearly new." Anyway, we didn't have time for a spin because I was on a schedule, but sat in the car. All these seats are supportive. Had the brum, 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 brum of a Porsche engine as it ticks over until he revved it up. And fantastic, all boy things. So we then went back towards his house, and as we were walking back, he stopped. He turned to me. He put his hand on my arm and said, "Barry," he said, "do you know what that is?" And I said, "It's a Porsche 911 Carrera." He said, "Nope." He said, "That is your 60th birthday present to me, because I bought it for my birthday." And sort of didn't quite know what to say at that point. So he then went on to say, "It's only because of you and your cash flow modelling that I realised that I'd grown up, I'd left school early, I worked in a removals wagon, humping, dumping furniture. I've done well for myself, it's true, but I just never believed that I'd be able to have a car like this." He said, "It's down to you that I've realised I can, so thank you, this is your birthday present to me." Just Well, gave me a little lump in my throat for a moment or two.